Just waiting, and there we go. I'm live on both streams. Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Revel with No Shorty, and today I'm going to be reviewing A Calculated Man. There is going to be an extra little bit of something at the end of this review video, though, so stick around if you want some bonus material. But we are talking about this one now, and there's a couple of things straight off which kind of hit me, and a few things which I discovered after reading it and then letting it sit in my brain for a while. First thing was, I love this cover. This is absolutely fantastic. It is just a fantastic use of negative space. I like the differences of the colours and the fact that it's quite simple and not using a very restricted colour palette. And I like the fact that it's the same artist inside. But when I opened it up, I, if anything, found that the artwork inside was a little bit more just standard. And I found myself being a little bit disappointed. Now, that doesn't mean I'm disappointed by the artwork. It's just that initial instinct of just, well, hang on, that's not what I expected, and it is the same artist. Sometimes when you bring in a different cover artist, they can do something really interesting, really unusual, but you know you're not going to get that inside because that's a guest artist kind of thing. So I was a little bit disappointed when I opened it up, but as I say, this did not last. Within a couple of pages, I'm falling in love with the artwork. I love the characterizations. I love the detail in the background. I like the fact that it gives a sense of place really effectively when they're walking. There's two members of the Marshal Service having a conversation walking through a city. They feel really at ease in that city. They feel comfortable, and you can tell. And there's an awful lot of effort put into making it look like a real and vibrant city, and it works really nicely. There's not much in the way of action to describe in this one, but you kind of get the impression that he would be good at it. He can do motion quite effectively. He does good things with it's Alberto Albuquerque. I really should have said that straight off. But yeah, he does really good things with facial expressions and how people stand conveying emotion. So I'm looking forward to there being some more action sequences. What we get in it is kind of a lot of after action kind of stuff. There's one bit where somebody goes and does a murder, and all you really get is the sound effects of it happening through a phone conversation. And it works. It's a really effective way of doing it. It's great writing. And the writing is the bit that's actually what I'm more interested in, because we have a main character, who, when you find out he's a mob accountant who gets embroiled in something and has to go and do some revenging, my first thought was the accountant, which is not a great thing to think straight away. Not the accountant's not a good movie, and not that I don't see why it'd be fun to have something similar to it, but when you're engaging with a piece of artwork or some kind of medium and your first thought is something else, it kind of puts a little bit more pressure on the writing to be different, to basically make it stand out and just be like, okay, this isn't just a different version of a story you're familiar with. Thankfully, it does it in a couple of interesting ways. First off, we have the main character who is neurodivergent in a different way. He has synesthesia. They do a little brief description of it. If you don't know what it is, I generally advise to go and do some research into it. I had to for a completely unrelated reason, and it's a fascinating thing. He also has an eidetic memory, and he's incapable of lying. So he's definitely an interesting character, but interesting on its own isn't enough either. You kind of have to have him as being sympathetic. He is a criminal. Why he's been working for criminal organizations and was instrumental in multiple murders, you still have to kind of have a reason to get on side of him. And there's a bit when the two marshals, probably deputy marshals, are talking about him. He gets described as being charming. Now, that's an odd thing to be annoyed about, but in my head, my first initial thought when I saw that was, are we now going to see through writing that he is actually charming, or are we now just being told he's charming, so that's something we have to take into account with his personality? Thankfully, Paul Tobin actually does a brilliant job of writing this disarmingly charming fellow. He is fantastic. When he's got a guy locked in the trunk of his car getting ready to do another murder, he still talks to him affably and is polite and doesn't cause him any unnecessary, undue mental stress. And then the best bit for me to get across this charming devil is in the back matter, where we get various conversations he have with people he's met on a dating app, and it's all IMs. And he's adorable. Like, genuinely, I'd like to hang out with the guy. And it is very much a show, don't just tell. I mean, they did tell, but in a way, these two members of the Marshal Service are there to kind of be our analog within the story. We're getting told about stuff that's happened. And how we're getting told about it is really quite cool as well, because you get a lot of backstory coming through from one marshal passing on the file to another, which protection, and then the calculated man himself here also telling you backstory to the guy who's got in the trunk of his car, filling in gaps. So you have a non-linear story done really effectively in a way that doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. It just flows. It makes perfect sense. Everything about it is well calculated and well put together. And I know I just said calculated as if that was a direct reference to the comic book. Literally wasn't thinking that one. Excellent book. Well worth your time. I don't usually go for the crime stuff, but this is very much in my wheelhouse, and I think you'd enjoy it too. Right, now that review's over. There's one other extra little bit. I wasn't going to review this one today. I was going to review Bill and Ted Roll the Dice from Opus Publishing, but I couldn't because I couldn't finish it. It's bad. It is badly written. The story makes very little sense. It feels like it's trying to fit in a story into canon which already exists. The characters are badly written. It feels like they're more Beavis and Butthead than Bill and Ted. The take on RPGs is ridiculous. It's unnecessary. It feels like it's just hammered in there because it's trying to capitalize on the current interest people have in role playing. The artwork is okay, but they spend a lot of time just trying to recreate characters that exist in the movies rather than doing something interesting and actually dragging you in with the artwork. All in all, it's so bad I couldn't finish it. And I decided to read A Calculated Man instead, and I'm very happy I did. It's a way better comic book, and I hope you all like it too. That's it for me today. I'll be back tomorrow with another review. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.